What is up, Planeswalkers? Theorix6 back with some more Magic the Gathering Arena. And today, we're going to be looking at the second deck in the rotation of decks that I'm going to be playing, and that's Zombies. Currently, it's Green-Black or Golgari Zombies. However, most of my rotation decks do tend to change based on how the meta settles. So, I did talk a little bit about this, not a little bit, I posted a video about this deck before Guilds of Ravnica hit, so I'm not going to talk too much about the individual deck. However, there are some things that I do want to address here. A couple changes and a couple of issues with the deck. So first I'm going to go over, I made essentially only 2 card changes, and that is I added an additional Glowspore and 1 more Vraska's Contempt. Now, I ended up taking out Cast Downs, there we go, because I found that I wasn't having too many problems against the more aggressive and mid-range decks. Glowspore Shaman I added to increase my consistency, and Vraska's Contempt, I wanted more ways to kill Planeswalkers. Now, you could ask, and rightfully so, why not just add another Assassin's Trophy and have a 4-2 split? And the reason for that is, against those mid-range or more aggressive decks, I don't want to ramp them to allow them to get to their later game before I can. So that's essentially why. And against control, they're going to be making their land drops anyway. Usually I'm going to be playing this later in the game, so still using Assassin's Trophy in that stage is not going to be as problematic. So this deck, as I talked a little bit about in previous videos, is very much influenced by the Molder Hulk Memorial to Folly combo, where you can use Memorial to Folly to get back Molder Hulk into your hand. Typically, it's going to cost just 2 mana to cast this card. You cast it, it enters the battlefield, you get this back onto the battlefield, and you just keep cycling that. Now, typically, that level of recursion is very strong against control decks who will need to continually use removal to get rid of this card. Obviously, we have Vraska's Contempt. However, I'm not seeing a ton of people play that card, so it's not too big of a deal. But it's just not great against specifically Turbofog. And here's why. Turbofog doesn't care what you have on the board. Either they have the fogs or they're dead. And they can settle the Wreckage You, which obviously is difficult because they exile things. I typically play several games before I start recording to make sure I understand what I should talk about, what I should address when it comes to the actual time to make the video. I went up against 5 Turbofog decks in a row with this deck, with pretty much this deck as is. Now, I am obviously playing, a decent amount of rares, a couple mythics, but I was very curious as to why I was running up against Turbofog 5 times in a row. And I should say the deck didn't just go down doing nothing. I was able to typically get them to about 5. And I do have some sort of reach with Liliana being able to get past Fogs because she just has them lose life. But if you are facing a bunch of Turbofog, don't play this deck. Because unfortunately, it's just not aggressive enough to punish those Turbofog players. Additionally, if you think you're going to face mill, like general mill, don't play this deck. I very frequently mill myself to about the 25-ish deck mark. And that's against normal decks. So against mill decks, probably not going to have a good time. Now, I do want to address a single card that I'm not running, and that's Bone Dragon. Bone Dragon does work with Death Baron. It gets slightly larger and has Death Touch. And I am milling the crap out of myself. So you'd think Bone Dragon would be a shoo-in, and it probably should be. I am playing Gruesome Menagerie instead because I am a little bit more interested right now in the self-mill zombie part. If the deck is better off as just a kind of self-mill Golgari deck, then Bone Dragon is very likely going to be in its place. However, this is meant to be a zombie deck first and a self-mill deck second. Obviously, Bone Dragon is incredibly strong, especially in this deck where we're constantly getting a bunch of creatures in the yard. But I just wanted to make sure everyone knew about why that's not in here. If you still want the main zombie-ness, but you want the power of Bone Dragon, drop the Gruesome Menagerie. It's a good card. I've had a lot of success with it. However, it's yet to prove itself, whereas Bone Dragon is just a good card. I'm hoping that if we do play it against Turbofog, it's only 1 game. I did eventually get out of that streak of nothing but Turbofog, but it's a thing that could happen. I'm going against Heavy Unit 1. Is that a Naruto reference? Is that the snake thing? Is that the Sasuke snake thing? This hand is not aggressive. which we would not expect. However, it's not terrible. Unfortunately, we don't have the ability to play this on 1 and this on 2 holding a trophy. Usually that's not actually going to be a big deal because we're not often going to want to trophy something on turn 2. Holy crap, I'm just now noticing how large Asperia is. This is like a walkway or something. This is Asperia. All right, well. I'm going to keep this. I mean, we have 3 mana. We have some threats. Obviously, we doubled up on Lilianos, but I mean, it's typically not a bad thing to double up on Planeswalkers, so. And Ice... I will play Folly first, and here's my reasoning. We don't need, typically, to play Trophy on our turn 2. And I want to be able to turn 3 play something. Midnight Reaper is going to come down before Death Baron for several reasons. The biggest one being, it has 3 power. So we will want to destroy Azcanta at some point. So notably, it does not seem that this is Turbo Fog. And that's very, very good. Because I hate that deck. I'm fine if my opponent kills this here. It means I'll be able to... Sure, that's fine. It means I'll be able to resolve my Liliana. And I do get a card. So they essentially got 2 for 1 there. Damage, right? Then I will play Liliana. So just so people can see what this card does. Response kills a thing, and that does some other stuff. So this is fine. We didn't hit them at all. Land Menagerie. All right, that's fine. We have another land. Probably just play Death Baron next turn. See what our opponent does. Is it Locket? Okay, this might be a Storm deck, maybe. We will Volley here, and we will Supplier. Luckily, not luckily, they do have 2 mana, so it's possible. It's possible that I actually should have Death Baron first because of Syncopate. I'll go ahead and plus. Already down to 39. See if this gets countered. It doesn't, which is very nice. So we do have some power on board. Our opponent down to 4 cards in hand, but they do have some nice selection here with Search for Azcanta. Drop the Shalai? I am now very, very confused as to what my opponent is playing. Oh, maybe they're playing like Jeskai Angels? Perhaps? That would be a cool deck. Shock? Yeah, that's fine. That is fine and fair. I can play zombies from my graveyard, though. I can -3 and play 2 3-drops from my graveyard. And honestly, I think that's a fine deal. Especially since I have the other Liliana. Like, they can burn this Liliana, but, like, so. So I'm going to Reaper first. Technically, Reaper is the more valuable creature. However, Death Baron resolving will give me more damage this turn. So Death Baron might not resolve, but Reaper also gives me more card draw. It does resolve, which is very nice. What are you casting? Oh, sure, that's fine. I'll draw a card. That's another reason. If we see that our opponent is playing this type of deck, then I'm gonna gain more card draw because Midnight Reaper comes down first, and I'll be able to get stuff. So just they put a Settle the Wreckage in the graveyard. That pretty much means they have to have one. Just for people to know, that's a dope demon. Let's go ahead and Forest here. Let's see, we have 7 mana. I'm going to go ahead. My opponent does not have double white. That's very important. I'm going to plus on Liliana first. Already down to 33. We dumped a messenger in there. So I couldn't Lich and Baron this turn. So I'm gonna Lich post combat. It's gonna suck if Lich does get countered, which I do kind of expect an Ionize here, I guess. So they're a control deck. Nope, Sabotage. That's fine. See what they do here. All right. So I think I want to trophy this, and I want to do it before they actually get a chance to go to their turn, because then they get to choose the rest of the bottom. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. You may put it into your graveyard. I actually think it's... It might be better to let them... No, I don't think it is. I'm gonna make the decision and then talk about why, just so I can allow my opponent to go. So, what I was thinking about there was, this, they don't get to see their choice. I could have let them take their turn and decide to keep it on top or not, and then if I saw what was happening, I could have responded to the trigger. If they kept it on top, I could have forced them to not be able to have what they wanted on top. That said, unfortunately, my opponent is almost certainly going to, sell the Wreckage Me. But is that fine? I think it might be. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Can I do math? Yeah, that's 7. Unfortunately, I still can't get Underrealm Lich plus like a Death Baron. I could double Death Baron and like force my opponent's hand, or I can just attack for 4. 1, 2, 3. My opponent is on 7 mana, so they probably still are going to be able to counter something. I guess I'm going to attack first. I think I'm fine with them settling me here, because I feel like this is a relatively low value settle. Yeah. So we know that 2 of them have already been taken. I would like to take that action. I will get 1 more swamp and 1 more forest. Damage. And I will minus and get some value. How many cards? I have 30 left. Let's... Supplier? Will I be allowed to cast other zombies doing this? Oh, cool. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Unfortunately... So Molderhulk technically costs 3. This would get moved and I would actually pay 3. And then I'd have 4. I kind of want to get Molderhulk back, or Underrealm Lich back, to be honest. Then again, I already have a decent amount of cards in my hand, so I think getting a larger creature might be better here. This also gets me a land into play. Did that not do what I thought it would do? I don't know. So I can actually play Underrealm Lich. But is it better to just make it a stupid sized board? I don't know. This. I value the Lich really high, so. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. But like, if they have like a board wipe, at least Underrealm Lich lives. I'm fine taking 4. My opponent has to sell me again. I don't have another thing. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Oh, sweet, awesome, sweet. So as you can see, against non-fog based control decks, our creatures are just resilient enough that we don't have to worry too much. Let's see what we got. Hey, a thing I don't care about. All right, let's play another game. The deck is fun. We lost a lot from Amonkhet, and we didn't gain as many things that I'd hoped. But there are many directions that this deck can take. There is the 4-mana zombie, the Rhizome Lurcher, going up against the best invertebrate. Okay, sure. Yeah, sure. Is a fine hand. We have a Guildgate, but we don't need to care about the Guildgate per se. Turn 1 Supplier, turn 2 Guildgate, since we don't have another turn 2, or turn 2 play. I think it's fine. We're going second. Not great, but it's fine. Here, Rhizome Lurcher, they're... So, like, you could definitely make this deck a little bit more mid-rangey. You know, you have Josu Vast, Rhizome Lurcher, things like that. So I'm going to pay 2 life. This is blue-red. I think I would rather play Ghoul first. I don't need to turbo dump cards into my graveyard. I would rather put on a little bit more pressure early. This could be Wizards, but it also could be a blue-red based control deck. Okay, it is that style of deck. Go and play Supplier into Guildgates. Next turn I will have Death Baron, which will allow me to... Alright, sure. Next turn I'll have Death Baron, which will allow me to actually attack through. Why am I doing this? Maybe my opponent forgets to block. Against blue-red, I don't really care about my creature being tapped. Gutter Snipe, sure. So Gutter Snipe is going to eat a Contempt at some point. Death Baron is helpful, because now my opponent either takes the damage or loses their creatures. They could trade the Gutter Snipe, but that's not good for them. Yep, they just take the damage, which is exactly what I want. I pretty easily kill the Gutter Snipe, since that's what would be dealing me the most damage. Looks like they're going to burn this. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I mean, gotta say, love the deck. Counter burn deck, pretty good. But they did use a Lightning Strike on my creature. That doesn't seem as good, though. I might want to... Contempt the field just to get through for more damage. I'm technically losing out. Like, if my opponent had more cards in hand, I would definitely be more tempted to get rid of Gutter Snipe. And this 1000% could be the wrong decision, right? It's possible that the correct decision was Gutter Snipe, but while I'm pushing damage, I'm still mitigating some of that life loss since it is Gutter Snipe light. Necrotic Wound is something that I thought about putting in this deck. However, I just haven't felt that I needed that type of removal. I really wanted removal that hits most things, and Vraska's Contempt hits 2 things. 1 damage to any... Let me see this. Any target player draws a card. Sure. Thanks for making my Molder Hulk cheaper, bruh. Ooh, Underrealm Lich. Fun stuff. Ooh, hello. A 1-drop, a 2-drop, or a 1-drop and a 3-drop. This is not a zombie. Oh, right, this doesn't care about zombies. Oh, I totally forgot. All right. So this kind of sucks for Molder Hulk, but, like, this is just, like, the correct decision, I think. Thank you, it is nice. I don't want any of these to mess up my draws. I need to not die this turn, which is possible. You know, they've used a Lightning Strike. So, let's see. Okay, 1000 Year Storm. I don't even remotely care. Keyword, I don't remotely care this turn. My opponent is dead. I kill Gutter Snipe with Liliana. Oop, and then they die. Sweet. Well played. Yes. So that is why I like Gruesome Menagerie. It makes a board out of thin air. Yeah, I definitely preferred that to playing the Molder Hulk. And that's the, like, drawing Liliana there is, like, the reason I didn't, like, I was at 5 mana. I didn't need to draw any more lands. Sweet. That is what I like to see out of the decks that I play. I should say I will show losses. If you've been around on the channel for a while, you know that if I just lose in the video, I'll show that. I'll still put it up. Going against Zergheim. I guess this is some weird StarCraft 2 Norse crossover. This hand is fine. It's a little slow, but, you know, we have removal, Graveyard Marshals, a fine card. We'll keep it. You know, so I'm happy that I'm winning. But if I was losing, I'd still put it up. Because it's dishonest to, like, just, like, handpick the games where you just win. I would much prefer showing off a deck that, like... I would much prefer showing off the deck as it actually is, right? If the deck has a bad matchup, I want people to know about it. Because I want people to try the decks if they think that the deck is good for them. What the heck are you doing on 1 mana? Like Opt, but you don't need to wait this long for Opt. Right? There's no... There's Spell Pierce. Okay, thank you. I was like, Spell Pierce does not hit this. I saw someone run Spell Pierce, actually. Oh god, go away. Alright, I'm a little scared, I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna go and do this. Hopefully I dump 3 creatures in my graveyard, so Molder Hulk costs less. I got nothing. Awesome, sweet, awesome. Gonna go and attack. But luckily I don't have to worry about Exkenta for right now. Graveyard Marshal is a decent clock. What was I saying? Oh, right. Yeah, so the deck is actually doing fine. Is this just Azorius control? Is he gonna seal away? No, I guess not. Alright, well. The double Molder Hulk is pretty unfortunate here. Opponent can't settle me yet. They probably... No seal ways. Alright. We kind of just pass. We don't need a trophy yet. We don't want to ramp them into 5, into their Teferi turn. Got rid of another one. That makes sense. On 7, 6. All right, Field of Ruin. Don't really care. Yeah. All right. I would love to draw like the Glowspore Shaman. Midnight Reaper is fine. I'm gonna cast this first because I would prefer them counter this and take more damage than have Settle the Wreckage. Although they only have a single blue. Syncope, sure. That's fine, because they're taking more damage. And so my reasoning is if I attacked first and they settled me, sure, I would have a 3/2 Reaper, but I'm not getting the value both out of Citrus Supplier or out of the Reaper, so that's why I made that decision. It obviously could be wrong. It's unfortunate that I don't have an additional land, but luckily they didn't have a Teferi here. Almost certainly going to have a Settle the Wreckage, right? Like, so it looks like this is just blue-white control and not the green foggy version. I mean, I guess I'm playing Death Baron anyway, and I would rather them, once again, I would rather them counter it and take damage because potentially Liliana can get me there. Yeah, I value the creatures on board more than I value Death Baron hitting the board. If Death Baron does hit the board, I'm probably not attacking with both. Okay, so they did counter it, which means I potentially going to get through for damage. Obviously, Seal Away is a thing. That dude's derp face is hilarious. Got rid of a... So no, I'm fairly certain they're solidly... Yeah, they did Seal Away. That's very unfortunate. They plopped a Teferi. That means that they have a Teferi, yeah. Hopefully they don't have another counterspell. I do have a Contempt.
I won't hide from the world. Hold that thought.
Curses. Yeah, so I guess it's not necessarily control decks. I think it might just be like Teferi decks. That said, my opponent didn't leave up blue mana. So they like actually just can't counter this Vraska's Contempt. So I'm just gonna attack you, see if you decide to Seal Away. Because I mean, I'm gonna attack anyway. Like if they have Seal Away, they have it. But you didn't keep up blue, and there's no Mana Tithe in this, so. Obviously they could have another Teferi, but they already got rid of one. I assume they're only running 3. Maybe they're running 4 if this is a Nexus deck, which I assume it is. If you're playing blue-white, you're almost certainly a Nexus deck. 2, 3, 4, 5. This is still a ton of mana. This does happen, I'm not gonna lie. However, it doesn't happen nearly as often. We are relatively unlikely to get so few. Oh, great. Well, I have Assassin's Trophy. One of the reasons that I played Contempt first is that it costs more. So theoretically, if I draw something else I can cast, like Glowspore Shaman, then I can cast that as well. No matter what... Oh no! I can't cast Glowspore Shaman as well. Because I only have a single green. Darn. The other reason is I didn't want to give them more mana. They are obviously stumbling a little bit at 5, so I didn't really want to be able to give them more. That said, there's several arguments for just ignoring Teferi for a single turn. What are you doing? Wow. That's interesting. Okay, well Teferi's dead. Yeah, I mean like their shields are down. Like I have essentially no reason to not get rid of that. That's their 3rd. So 3 of their win conditions are gone. I'll play on my supplier again, which dumps more stuff in my bin for Molder Hulk to get cheaper. Okay, well, I lost some Menagerie, but that's fine. They do get Iskantha, so they're up at 7 mana now. It's very important, and they decided to bump off the Chemisters in Sight, which makes sense. But they are up to 7, which is one of the reasons I didn't want to, but they would have had 7 anyway, so. Luckily, I got rid of 3 of their probably 4 Teferis. Maybe they're running Karns as well. You know, they're not at half of their deck yet. You know, they're still a little over, what, 20? Math is hard. 20%? Yeah. No. Math? There's chunks of 20. Hey, I did it. Who needs math? There's like, I don't know, 33%? Sure, something like that. Cool. It's very rare that it goes this way, this direction. Usually during my practice games, I win constantly, and then when I start recording, I lose again. This one in the practice games, I was just losing. Like, nonstop, I was losing, and I was like, oh, this is bad. But I won. That's awesome. This is awkward. I just crafted this card. How dare you? Good old 5th copies of cards. That's fantastic. I didn't craft that card, so I don't care. All right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed the zombies. There are more of them to come in the future. I'm going to be working on. Oh, right. I can show you guys. I have a new end card. Hey, it didn't. The aesthetic was a little bit too off of like how the game actually looks, so I decided to go with this. I just really like the art of Grim Monolith and Nicol Bolas. I'm going to be finishing up the Guilds of Ravnica budget lists. Eventually, once I finish all 5 of them, I think it'd be interesting. And a commenter actually posted this as well, whose name I didn't pull up because I'm a terrible person. To do the actual like updated version that aren't budget, that are like the finalized version. I'm still going to try and skew it towards the actual mechanics. So Surveil is still going to focus on Surveil. But that said, there are going to be fewer cards that care about those things, and more cards that are just in general better, because obviously when you shoehorn such a mechanic, it's going to be less good technically. So I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to be finishing up my setting up of my scheduled decks, my rotation decks. So I'll be doing Bolas in the next couple days, and as well as hopefully getting Abzan midrange out. I'd like Abzan midrange to be one of the decks that I have in the rotation this go around, but working it out is a little difficult this early on into the meta. I'd like to thank Izimo, Dizzy Fam, Radberry, Daniel, Flower Child, and Chow083 for supporting me over on Patreon. They're actually not supporting me, they're supporting the channel. Their support allows me to make the decks that you guys want to see, which apparently currently is budget decks, which is fine. If you would like to join them in supporting me and maybe suggest a deck you would like to see me play, you can find the link to that in the description below. If you would like to join the Discord and chat with me and other people who are currently on the Discord, you can find a link to that in the description below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, go and tap that like button, add a subscription to your Mana Pool, and cast a comment to the comment section down below. And until next time, all will be one.